Hello, sports fans. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke. And today we are going to be starting the 1979 Card and Dice ALCS between the California Angels and the Baltimore Orioles, which was originally won by the Baltimore Orioles in 4 games. But we'll see what happens in this version. Now, I'm using the 1979, the original 1979 set, and you can see with these cards, and here I'll show you the Jim Palmer card. He's the home pitcher. This will be Jim Palmer against Nolan Ryan. And these were the original cards. I mean, I love these cards. They're nice, hard card stock, and yeah, this was my first set ever, and it's by far my favorite one. And then there's Nolan Ryan's card. And originally, it's surprising, but Nolan Ryan and the Angels actually lost this game in real life. But we will see what happens. Now you see I got my statue of my Jim Palmer statue that I got at Camden Yards a couple of years ago, and the Nolan Ryan McFarlane starting lineup figure. But anyway, we'll get them out of the way because now we have to get on with the game and maybe put Palmer over here. So, and I'm filming this from the side. I think that's a little better than filming it from above. But let me know what you guys think. We will be getting on with the game, but first I want to give a reminder: subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. If you subscribe and ring the bell, you'll know when all of the follow-up games to not only the 1979 ALCS, but also the 1979 NLCS are. And also want to remind you to share, with other people and let them know about the channel, and especially people that might be interested in either the Angels or the Orioles or their past or Strat-O-Matic baseball. So anyway, we'll get started here. During 1979, the Angels won the West with a record of 88-74. The Baltimore Orioles won the AL East with a record of 102-57. And let me where's my pen? Let me see. Yeah, here's the pen I'm going to use. So we will get started. The Angels are visiting, so Rod Carew will lead off against Jim Palmer. And he gets a 1-5, which is a fly ball to center. So Carew flies out, fly out to 8. That brings up Carney Lansford. Carney Lansford gets a 2-8, which is a triple 1-3 or a single. And he gets a single. So Carney Lansford's on. I'm taking a page out of the book of APBA Brian, who used to use the discs. Hopefully he continues his channel, but I think he was planning to discontinue it. But anyway, he would use the team discs, and I like that idea, especially since they're flatter and they won't interfere with the rolls of the dice, and you won't knock them over and everything. So after Lansford having singled, we come up to Brian Downing, and there is one out. And he gets a 2-7, which is a strikeout. So that's the first strikeout for Palmer. And then that brings up Don Baylor. And he gets a 3-6, which is a pop out to third base. Pop out to 5. So no runs for California there. And we'll put their disc away. And that brings up Al Bumbry leading off for the Orioles in the bottom of the first against Nolan Ryan. And he gets a 5-7, which is a strikeout. And you're going to probably see a lot of those today with Ryan pitching. Next up, Ken Singleton. he gets a 6-8. That's a walk, and you are also going to see a lot of those today with Ryan pitching. So Singleton on first with a walk, and that's a walk allowed by Ryan. Eddie Murray up, and he gets a 4-4, which is a triple 1-2 or a single. That's going to be a single. So now runners are at first and third with only one out. And Ryan gives up a hit. Single for Eddie Murray. That moves Singleton all the way over to third base. And again, Ryan is pitching against Palmer, and those were the actual two pitchers for game one in real life. But I'm not necessarily holding myself to following what was actually happening who actually pitched and played in the series. So the lineups are my own lineups. The players that are playing are the ones I think should be playing. It's not necessarily based on the original lineups. And that brings up Gary Renicky with 2 on and 1 out. And he gets a 3-8, which is a strikeout. So that's a second strikeout for Ryan. And that brings up Lee May. And he gets a 2-2, which is a foul out to the catcher. So despite getting into a little trouble there, Ryan gets out of it and doesn't allow any runs. And that brings up Bobby Grich. Let's get the discs off. Bobby Grich batting against Jim Palmer. He gets a 2-6, which is a ground ball third base A. So 5-3, 1 away. Dan Ford up. Dan Ford gets a 5-5, which is a pop out to first base on Palmer's card. So pop out to 3, 2 away. And that brings up Rick Miller. And Rick Miller gets a 6-9, which is a pop out to short. Pop out to 6. And no runs there for the Angels. And that brings up for the Orioles, Doug DeCinces leading off in the bottom of the second against Ryan. And he gets a 5-9, which is a ground ball second base X. The second baseman for the Angels is Bobby Grich, and he's a 2, and that's a 4, so that's going to be an out. That's 4-3. That brings up Rich Dower, the second baseman. He gets a 6-6 on Ryan, which is a single 1-2 or a line out to third. And that's going to be a line out to third base. Line out to 5. And that brings up Rick Dempsey, and Rick Dempsey gets a 2-4, which is a pop out to short. Pop out to 6, no runs for Baltimore there. And now we go to the top of the third with Joe Rudy. And I believe he's in left field today. Yes, he is. And that's a 1-8, which is a strikeout for Joe Rudy. And I believe that's the second strikeout for Jim Palmer. And that brings up Bert Campy Campaneris. He gets a 5-7 on Palmer, which is a ground ball to second. Dower is a 2 at second, and that's a 19. So let's check that. Probably either an out or a roll again. It is an out. So that's 2 away. 4-3. And that brings up Rod Carew, and he gets 2-11, which is a ground ball second base X. 4-3. And after 3 innings, not only do the Angels not have any runs, but they don't have any hits off of Palmer either. And that brings us to the bottom of the third. And leading off in the bottom of the third is Mark Belanger. All field, no hit. Belanger gets a 4-6, which is a strikeout on Ryan's card. That brings up Al Bumbry. he gets a 3-7, which is a fly ball to right. Fly out to right. Fly out 9. And that brings up Singleton. So both pitchers have been on top of their games here. And that's a 5-5, which is a home run 1-6 or a fly ball. And that ball is gone. He gives it a ride. Ken Singleton with a home run off of Ryan. So he gets the run and the RBI. Ryan gives up his second hit and his first run. And that brings up Eddie Murray with 2 down and nobody on and a 4-10, which is a ground ball shortstop. Campaneris is a shortstop 4, and that's a 13, so let's see what happens there. 13 and 4 is an out with no runners on. So Eddie Murray's out 6-3, but the Orioles strike for a run in the bottom of the third and take the 1-0 lead over the Angels, who have yet to get a hit, and bring Carney Lansford up to the plate against Palmer, and he gets a 6-2, which is a ground ball pitcher B, so he's out. He's out 1-3, 1 away. That brings up Brian Downing. Brian Downing gets a 2-5, which is a fly ball center field B. Fly out to 8. 2 away. Don Baylor gets a 1-5, which is a single, and that breaks up at least the no-hitter by Palmer. So he gets a hit. First hit allowed by Palmer. He's on first, and Bobby Grich is up, and he gets a 3-5, which is a fly ball left field. So he flies out to 7, and the Angels get no runs there, but they did break through and get a hit, at least, off of Palmer. So that brings up the Orioles in the bottom of the 4th, leading off with Gary Renicky. He gets a 5-5, which is a home run 1-6. Let's see if they can do that. No, that's going to be a fly ball right field. So Renicky flies out to 9, 1 away. Lee May is up, and he gets a 4-7, which is a strikeout. And that is only Ryan's 4th, really. That's pretty good. Doug DeCinces, good for the Orioles. Ground ball shortstop A, and he grounds out 6-3. And the Orioles get no runs in the 4th and still lead at 1-0 on the home run by Ken Singleton back in the 3rd. And now we go to the top of the 5th with Dan Ford coming up, and he gets a 4-3 on Palmer, which is a catcher's card X. The catcher is Dempsey, and he's a 2, and that's a 10. So 10 and 2 at catcher is an out on dribbler. So Dan Ford is out on a dribbler. 1-3, or no, 2-3. 1 away. That brings up Rick Miller. He gets a 5-7, which is a ground ball second base on Palmer. Second baseman is a 2. That's Rich Dower. I think that's probably an out. It's a 9. 9 and 2 at second is an out. So Rick Miller's out. 4-3. And then 2 away, and up steps Joe Rudy. He gets a 6-5 on Palmer, which is a triple 1-2 or a single. And he gets a single. So Joe Rudy on with a hit. Hit allowed by... oh no, that wasn't... He didn't have a no-hitter. All right, that's the second hit given up by... Or the third. That's the third hit? Yeah, that's the third hit given up by Palmer. He didn't have a no-hitter. I was wrong. All right, well, anyway. He doesn't have one anyhow, so... Bert Campaneris is up with a runner at first and 2 out, and that is going to be 5-5, and that's a pop out to first base. Pop out to 4 or to 3, and no runs come across, and we are now in the bottom of the 5th. Orioles coming to bat, Rich Dower. He gets a 3-9, which is a fly ball to center field. Yep. Fly out to 8. 1 away. Rick Dempsey gets a 3-8, which is a ground ball shortstop A. 6-3. And that brings up Mark Belanger, and he gets a 6-5 on Ryan's card, which is a double 1-11 or a single. So the non-hitting Belanger is going to have a single on that. Yes. So Belanger with a hit, and third hit given up by Ryan. Both pitchers again right on top of their games. Not a lot of base runners. Al Bumbry gets a 2-12, which is a fly ball right field B. And that's going to be it. That's the end of the inning. No runs for the Orioles. We go to the top of the 6th. Still in a 1-0 lead. A game that's 1-0 lead for the Orioles. Rod Carew up. He gets a 3-4, which is a ground ball second base A. So 4-3. 1 away. Carney Lansford gets a 3-8, which is a single. So we've got Lansford on. Base hit given up by Palmer. Brian Downing up 4-7, which is a single. And that's Lansford at first going to second, and he's a 1-16. They're going to try it because they need to try it. And that is a right field. The right fielder for the Orioles is Renicky, so let's see what his arm is. His arm is a -2, so he just barely makes it. So, a hit for Downing. And Lansford to third. Palmer with the 5th hit allowed. Runners are at the corners with 1 down. The infield's going to play back for the Orioles since they're home, and they're looking for the double play to get out of the inning with Don Baylor especially. And 4-6 is a pop out to second. So 2 away. And that brings up Bobby Grich. And he gets a 2-5, which is a single 1-11. He could tie in or knock in the tying run, and he doesn't. So that is a line out to third. They came close. The Angels came close in the 6th there to scoring, but to no avail, they didn't. So it is still 1-0 Orioles. And that brings up Ken Singleton, and he gets a 5-11 on Ryan, which is a strikeout. 5th strikeout for Ryan. Again, not very good for being in the 6th inning for the big train. And 2-8 is a strikeout. Okay, now he's starting to rack them up. Probably heard me. And Gary Renicky's up, and he gets a 3-8, which is a strikeout, and he strikes out the side. Just when I said he's not really doing that as well as he usually does on the strikeouts, he strikes out the side. So that brings us to the top of the 7th. It's getting late for the Angels, who are losing 1-0 here. Dan Ford comes up. He gets a 5-4, which is a fly to center field. That's Bumbry. He's a 2. That's a 17, probably an out, but we'll check it anyway, and it is. So Dan Ford is out on a fly out to center. 1 away. That brings up Rick Miller. He gets a 5-7, which is a ground ball to second. That's a second base 2 in Dower, and I think that's an error. 16. It's a roll of 16, which is a one-base error by Dower. So we got a man on, and that's Rick Miller, who is on by an E4. And the error for Dower. One runner on, one out, and Joe Rudy up. He gets a 5-10 on Palmer, which is a walk. So the Angels have two guys on with only one out. And and that's just the first walk of the game issued by Palmer. And that brings up Campaneris. They are, the Angels are in a tough spot here because they really don't want Campaneris hitting. So they do have a backup shortstop. Their possibilities for batters, though, are not that great. Except for one guy, and that would be Willie Mays Aikens. And so they will let Willie Mays Aikens pinch hit. With two runners on and one out. He gets a 4-7 on Palmer, which is a single. So now the bases are loaded, and that runner is, let's record this, single, another hit allowed by Palmer. And the runner is Rick Miller, who's a 1-15. I think they're going to hold him. And the Orioles are going to do the same thing as they did earlier. They're going to keep the infield back, hoping for the double play with being at home and with the one-run lead. And then that brings up, and let's see. Let me get organized here. That brings up Rod Carew, and also with Rod Carew coming up, the Angels are not going to try to extend that. 6-8 is a fly ball center field B, so that scores the tying run. Carew with the fly out to center field, which is really a sac fly, and he gets the RBI and the run scored by Miller, but he was on by an error, so it's an unearned run for Palmer. And then Carney Lansford comes up, 2 on, 2 out. 3-11 is a ground ball shortstop A. So 6-3, but the Angels tie the game in the 7th at 1. And now the new shortstop for the Angels, going in at short for the Angels, will be Jim Anderson. He's the new shortstop for the Angels, and he's better defensively too. He's a 3. But that brings up the Orioles in the bottom of the 7th with Lee May batting against Ryan Still, and he gets a 3-10, which is a ground ball shortstop A. 6-3, 1 away. Brings up Doug DeCinces. He gets a 3-7, which is a walk. So DeCinces on with a walk, and that's a walk allowed, and only the second walk allowed by Ryan, which is also good for Ryan. Rich Dower with an out is a 6-4. That is a fly ball center. The center fielder for the Angels is Rick Miller, and he's a 2. That's a 19. That may be a roll again. No, it's an out 5. So there's 2 away. Dowder flying out to center. And with 1 man on and 2 outs, Rick Dempsey up, and he gets a 3-4, which is a pop out to short. Pop out to 6. No runs for the Orioles. We go to the top of the 8th. Game is moving along briskly because everybody's getting out. And the pitchers are on top of their games, and Downing is up, and he gets a 1-4, which is a pop out to short. That brings up Don Baylor. Don Baylor gets a 3-10, which is a ground ball shortstop A. 6-3. 2 away. And that brings up Bobby Grich, and Bobby Grich gets a 4-9, which is a fly ball right field C. So he is flying out to 9. No runs for the Angels there. Orioles coming up. Ryan and Palmer still out there. Belanger comes up. He gets a 6-6 on Ryan's card, which is a single 1-2. And he will be out, 1 away. So Belanger gets out 6-3. That brings up Bumbry. Bumbry gets a 2-6, which is a line out to first base. Line out to 3. 2 away. And that brings up Ken Singleton. And Singleton gets a strikeout. Just missed getting a home run, but instead gets the strikeout. That's the 8th strikeout for Ryan in the game. And that brings up Dan Ford. Bottom of the 8th. Tie game at 1. 1-10 is a line out to second base. Line out to 4. 1 away. Rick Miller gets a 4-9, which is a fly ball right field. Or wait a minute. Yeah. Fly ball right field C. So fly out to 9. That's 2 outs. And that brings up Joe Rudy. 1-5, ground ball third base A. 5-3. We go to the top of the 9th. Here it is, folks. 1-1 ALCS Game 1. Eddie Murray up. If a run scores, or wait a minute, no, this is the top of the 9th? Yeah, this is, no, that was the top of the 9th. So the California got no runs there. So Eddie Murray is up against Nolan Ryan, still out there. 6-5 is a double, 1-11, or a single. And that's a double. So now the Angels are in trouble immediately as Murray doubles in the 9th. And hit allowed with Gary Renicky up, they are going to sacrifice. And that's an 8. Sacrifice, bunt. 8 is batter is thrown out by first baseman, runners advance 1. So now we got a runner at third with 1 out. And Gary Renicky with the successful sacrifice. And now the Angels will bring the infield in for Lee May. 5-6 is a strikeout. That's exactly what they needed, and now they're going to go back to normal depth. And that brings up Doug DeCinces. And he gets a 5-5, which is a home run 1-6 or a fly ball. And it's going to be a fly ball. So he flies out to right field, and despite coming close, the Orioles do not score in the 9th. And that brings us to the top of the 10th inning. And Jim Anderson is up. He came in for Campaneris defensively. Or after Jim Anderson. Shortstop 3. He came in for Campaneris when Aikens pinch hit for Campaneris back in the 7th. So now Jim Anderson's up, and he gets a 1-6, which is a single. So Jim Anderson coming in off the bench, and he gets a hit in the 10th off of Palmer, who is still out there. Rod Carew is up, and he gets a 3-2, which is a line out into as many outs as possible. Line out into a double play, 2 away. And that brings up Carney Lansford, and he gets a 6-12 on Palmer, which is a fly ball right field. Fly out to 9, no runs there. Both starters still in. Nolan Ryan is still out there on the mound, and Rich Dower comes up in the 10th inning. He gets a 5-5, which is a home run 1-6. And that's going to be a fly ball to right field. Fly out to 9, 1 away. Rick Dempsey gets a 6-8, which is a walk. Dempsey with the walk. Third walk allowed by Ryan. Mark Belanger up. He gets a 4-4, which is a triple 1-2 or a single double asterisk. That's going to be bad. And that's a triple, and it drives in the run, and the Orioles win the game on a triple by Mark Belanger, of all people. Unbelievable. Triple. He gets the RBI. The run scores by Dempsey. Ryan gives up the hit, the earned run, the run, and the Orioles win game 1, 2-1 in 10 innings. Ryan versus Palmer, and the loss, of course, goes to Nolan Ryan. The win, of course, goes to Palmer, who had pitched 10 innings, and Ryan went 9 1/3. Is that right? Yes, 9 1/3, and got the loss. So I hope you enjoyed that game. Again, subscribe to the channel if you like that. Ring the bell so you get the notifications when Game 2 is going to be played, especially. You don't want to miss this series. It looks like it's going to be a good one. But for right now, it's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, signing off.